What do you do when your parent is tragically taken from you? How do you keep going after life keeps hitting you again and again? In this gripping episode, Jeremy Swanson shares the story he's held onto for nearly a decade, starting with the day his father was suddenly and violently taken from him. What followed was a spiral of unimaginable loss, heartbreak, and rock bottom moments that tested every part of who he was as a son, a husband, a father, and a man of faith. From wrestling with rage and responsibility to rebuilding his life piece by piece. From wrestling with rage and responsibility to rebuilding his life piece by piece. Jeremy's story is one of raw honesty, pain, and purpose. If you've ever felt like life won't let up, this episode will meet you in the depths and remind you that survival is only the beginning. Jeremy Swanson, welcome to Shift Happens. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
We were talking off camera. We know a lot of the same people.
Yeah.
You just opened Shindigs, which is in Riverside. Mm-hmm. So anybody that wants to go try that out, it's phenomenal. But the real reason that you are here today is because you have a story that you have not shared in almost 10 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's been something that I feel like it's still being written, but
Yeah.
I've experienced enough now to where it's like I can share some key points of this story to maybe it's good for me and hopefully it's good for somebody else and be encouraging. That's kind of where
Absolutely.
I've just, after 10 years, and I think it's working on my my testimony, and
Yeah.
it's time to share a bit. And that's kind of where I feel like I didn't ask for this, so you gave me an opportunity. And I think even God was like, hey, go for it. You know, maybe it's time. I don't know what my story is meant to do, but why not start telling it? Because it's, wow, you'll hear. It's a lot.
Sometimes when we keep our story in, we almost become a prisoner to it.
Yeah.
In a way. I found that with my own story. I find that there's so much healing in the sharing, and it almost like frees you, actually.
Yeah.
And I think, yourself and my listeners can agree, the more you share, the more you heal.
100%. And I've had, not where I've been confronted by it, but encouraged to, and people, even over, like from even 5 years ago, like, man, you should start sharing your story. You got something. And I was like, I don't know. God will open that door when it's time. And, I've had so much going on that the last thing I need to do is open up more doors. So I've just kind of just waited for opportunities to just come into my path. And here we are.
Well, I'm very honored that you are here today. This part of your story starts on September 17th, 2015.
Yeah.
That's a day that you would completely change your life
I would
forever.
say it was the day my bubble burst. Like, because you live in a bubble for so long of just like what you think life is until something really rocks just the core of it, and you realize, it's like someone opens up a side of your brain. It's crazy.
And on that day, your dad, Barry, had his life suddenly taken from him.
Yeah.
Correct?
It was, leading up to that, there was a lot of life accomplishments that I felt as a man. I'm 44 now. At that time, I was, I think, 33, just coming into 34, and had worked a long time to achieve goals and buy the family a dream house. And my dad was retiring, and we decided we were going to cohabitate on a property. And I worked really hard to be able to afford that and get my dad moved in with us into our back house. And literally, I'm with my perfect family, 2 kids, wife, going like, I'm 34 and I've bought a dream home, and my dad's able to live back here, and it's going to be great. And so we move into this house, and it was July 2nd of 2015. And it was amazing. We moved in there, and then I got invited to, with my business that I had thrived with for years, which was a window covering business, that was able to afford me this lifestyle I worked really hard for.
Yeah.
I had to go to China for a work trip that I had been picked as a company to go there. And so I'm in China. We had just moved into the house. My dad's home with the kids and the family. And I think I had been there for maybe 4 days, and I get a phone call. We're going over Hong Kong from the bridge to go and hang out for the night, and there's actually another guy on the bus named Jeremy, and a phone call comes from like the tour leader kind of guy saying, Jeremy, you need to call home, something wrong, but he's talking to the guy in front of me. And so Jeremy picks up going, oh my God, my wife's at a concert. I hope something went wrong, because we're looking, it's 11, 12 o'clock at home. We're in China. But then he gets on the phone with his wife and he goes, oh, you're okay? She's like, yeah, I'm sleeping. So then I realized like, oh, I'm the other Jeremy.
Yeah.
So I had to realize like, I need to call home. And I had FaceTimed the night before with my dad, sitting there. Sorry.
It's okay.
Whew.
Okay.
It's a healthy story. I cherish these memories. They don't hurt me. I'm happy that my dad did this. The last night he was with my family. He brought home ice cream surprise for the kids, and so I FaceTimed and this and that. And then the next day I'm on the bus and I have to call, and it's my wife, and she's like, at the time it was, your dad's been carjacked and he's been killed. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? He installs alarm systems, and he drives around in a real cool Ford Raptor. My dad and I always built really cool cars, so he had a Raptor, I had a Jeep, and but his truck had been stolen. And then so I'm in China on a bus. I find out my dad has just died, and it rocked my world. I remember I have one last picture that I took, which was of Hong Kong, and it was moments before the call, and that's the last picture before my bubble burst, where my whole world just, because you have dads, and everyone always has these, but I have that story too. My dad was so important to me. I matured at a young age. I was off on my own at a young age. I was a musician for years. I literally toured around for all of my 20s playing guitar, and my dad just got to be my buddy. So for years, from 18 on, like, he didn't have to father me. He was my dad. And it was just this. So we had a really tight-knit relationship. So him moving in and this and that. And then all of a sudden, 8 weeks after we move in, I'm off in Hong Kong. I get a call, and now my dad's dead. And to then it unfolded to be even worse, where there was a triple homicide where my dad was in a customer's house. He did alarm systems for ADT. And the customer's son had been on a 5150 hold. And because he had tried to kill his mother, and they called the cops, and they had decided to put him on a 5150 hold instead of arresting him, because he was a professional baseball player, and they were trying to protect his identity as far as criminal records to keep him in his hometown hero area. But he had made some bad moves, and sure enough, he ended up in a hospital, and instead of bringing him in to evaluate, they let him go, and they gave him a bus pass, and he took that bus pass and he went straight to his home, where my dad was there to install an alarm system to help keep him out.
Exactly.
So my dad was there trying to help protect his family, and he somehow gained access to the house, and my dad was in the kitchen finishing up. He had been there all day. It was like, I think it happened at like 4:35 p.m. So he had been there all day. It was literally on the last bits of programming, to the point where when Brandon came in, he didn't automatically start attacking my dad. I'm sorry, I don't want to use his name.
It's okay. We don't have to use it.
That person, he started attacking his own family. And my dad, he could have got out. But I know how I was raised, and my intuition is to help and whatever. My dad did that. He tried to stop that attack. And this guy, being 22 years old, professional baseball player, he had a baseball bat, and he was attacking his uncle, and my dad tried to help. And unbeknownst to me, until a little while later, I'll get more to this, but my dad happened to be on the phone with 82 when this happened. I'll go deeper into that. But at the end of it, my dad interfered, and he fought that man for, gosh, I think it was like 7 minutes of trying to stop this. And I'm so proud of him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a testament to the character of who your dad is, and the type of man that, would stick up and defend, because also the guy's dad was wheelchair bound.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he was literally on his deathbed.
Exactly.
Couldn't lift a 5 pound weight.
He was wheelchair bound, and his own son took his life, his uncle's life, and ultimately your dad's life.
Yeah. At 22 years old.
At 22 years old. How did you cope with life without your dad during those initial weeks, years even?
To be honest, I can't say how I did, because it's such a rapid turmoil, almost like you're in a wave pool, but the waves are coming from all directions, and you just feel this just lost. And honestly, the feeling of it for me in the beginning, and how I've expressed it for people to really truly understand, is like, you know, that feeling when you're in a hurry to get somewhere and you go to get your car keys, and you know you put them somewhere, and you just
panic.
and you have to be somewhere, and you've lost your own car keys. You can't blame it on anybody, but you're running around the house and you need to be somewhere, and that just burn inside your chest until you find them, which you ultimately do, or you figure it out. But that's the feeling you have in those moments for such a long time, to where trying to cope and deal with, you have to really I hate to say it, but going through the motions, it's a grieving process that is different for everybody. And I can't say I handled it correctly. I can share a lot of what not to do in those moments.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And it's my journey, and I'm not proud of any of it, but I am willing to share all of it, of where I went with all of this. And coping went from immediately I didn't want to touch alcohol because I knew that could be a really bad thing. So I don't think I touched alcohol for a couple months as soon as he was killed. But the hard part with it, like, you know, because in these deaths where it's a murder, I had to go to court literally within 3 days of my dad. And initially when we heard he was killed, it was that he was shot. But I ended up getting an email, or actually a Facebook message from the uncle's son, who said, you need to hear the truth before you go to court, because what they're telling you isn't what happened. So it took 3 days for me to figure, because the cops they were trying to make it sound more like it was just a quick whatever. But then he's like, you're going to find out that he was, you know, beaten with a baseball bat, which.
Yes. Yeah.
So I had to find out at like 3 o'clock in the morning through someone I didn't know, but he was actually the one that discovered the scene.
Wow. So he
wanted to warn me.
He was the one that called.
Yeah, he said,
cops?
you need to call me. I was there. I'm the one that called the cops. I was the first one in the house. So I had to call a family emergency 3 days after we find out that my dad's, you know, been killed, then to tell my sister and my brother and my mom and just the whole family. I sat them down at 6 o'clock in the morning saying, I got to tell you guys something, because it's going to come out at court, and it's better it comes from me. So I had to end up ultimately, like, you know, going to my family with having to carry that burden. It hurts, but I was given the responsibility of it for some reason. So, you know, if there's anything, one thing my dad taught me was, you know, just be a man about it. And I had to sit the family down and deliver messages that I didn't want to tell my sister, that, you know, someone had done that in that way, being so violent with someone that my dad had this cutest bald head that I kissed all the time. Just picture someone just, you know, being that way towards someone that you love, that their life ended so violently. It just,
you can't
to
imagine.
know I had to tell my family that, it really hurt.
During this time, were you and your family close, or did it bring you guys closer at all, or did it do the opposite?
It brought us close, but there was moments of vulnerability and just emotions that you don't want to do. There was, for sure. I have an older brother. We're all 3 years apart, so I have an older brother and a little sister. And we're all 3 years apart. And there was moments in that where, you know, my brother had crossed a boundary that I hadn't shared, but I didn't, because my dad lived on my property and had a house in my backyard. So I really didn't want anybody to touch his stuff. I wanted to smell his pillow, you know? And I think because I wanted that to just don't touch his laundry. I just want him to be there as long as possible. So there was moments where stuff would get moved, and I think dealing with that with your family, and other people deal with it differently.
Yeah, and there's tension points there, because you had a different relationship with your dad because of the proximity and your own experience, just 100%. Like your sister, just like your brother. But it is different when his belongings are at your house. So I can understand those intense feelings, and not necessarily ownership, but of just like, this is my house, these are my, you know, like,
Oh yeah, trust me. My brother
Right.
crossing boundaries, and we ended up in a full blown where I pushed him against the wall. And I've always been the little bigger brother,
Yeah.
so it ended up in
Yeah.
one of those moments
Yeah.
where we had to have a. And this was literally within 48 hours of my dad passing away that I've got my brother against the wall, and it's one of those moments that I absolutely was emotionally driven.
Of course. I mean, emotions are
Yeah.
high. You guys
Oh,
are
God.
grieving. You guys are. Not only are you guys grieving,
Yeah.
but you guys are trying to figure out what actually happened.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because you're getting fed different pieces of information that don't line up.
Oh, yeah.
You're just getting back from a trip.
100%.
Your life is
I
turned
had to
upside down from China to
I had
back
to
to the
find out
US.
in China and then somehow survive through a 17-hour flight knowing what had
Exactly.
gone on. But the worst thing was because it was a professional baseball player and this and that, it was on the news in Florida. It was in
Wow.
New York. It was all over the country about this. It was everywhere.
Yeah. You made mention, we have talked off camera
Yeah.
about how, he was in the mental hospital
Yeah.
and he was diagnosed, with what I've read, paranoid schizophrenia, reportedly. You had made mention to me, and this is reportedly, I said,
Yeah.
that you blame his parents, and you're quoted, I read on an interview, I blame your parents as well. I blame them for not being parents, but more like business partners, raising a meal ticket. What did you mean by that statement?
Every word of it. I'm a parent. I have a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old, and you have kids that I can see over here. That it's amazing that you're doing this. I'm sorry to bring that up, but it's amazing. I'm sure you get it just as much. But what I meant by that was like you're a product of your environment. We're the environment that we get to be for our children, and this particular situation with him is he was really good at baseball at a young age. And was always told that you're going to be a star and you're going to be this. And no matter what, all you focus on is that. You're going to be, you're the bright child of this family.
Yeah.
And they literally gave him everything he wanted. He was able to just act absurd as a child and got away with it because he was the all-star. He was going to be this. And the thing is everything that they told him as a kid, it did come true. He got over $1 million at 18 to play baseball. And he was supposedly slated to be this big all-star or whatever, but they had never instilled values and they had never really instilled consequences, which for me, I was raised in the church.
Yeah.
And I was raised from a young age to have a personal relationship with God. And there's certain sides of that a lot of people don't agree with, but I 100%, just the value of God and relationship and the auditing system that you get at a young child where this is wrong and this is right. But when it's by the Bible, it's, there's lifelong consequences that everlasting,
it's
even
actually
after
like eternity.
death.
Yeah.
100%. So when eternity is involved and at a young age, so and I'm not saying I was instilled or indoctrinated that way. I was given free will at a young age. My parents were more hippies and they just wanted me to know God's love, and I felt it. And he never was shown God's love. He was shown that basically you can be a tool and you're good at this and we're going to focus on that. We're going to give you whatever you want until you get that. And as soon as he got it, immediately got introduced to drugs, which he had probably never really been talked about much. He had put into environments that he had never been in because all he did was baseball, baseball, baseball. This is all you do. And even to express the severity of how they raised him, his first day of training camp in professional baseball, his mom showed up with cleats on.
Wow.
Because she wanted to make sure she could get on the field on a professional baseball team. Like, that's crazy. So that just shows that even at that age,
The mindset.
the coddling and he lived on a pedestal and he couldn't be punished. He never got grounded. Drove a Range Rover at a young age. Like
There was
just
probably
given.
a sense of entitlement.
100%. And there was never a consequence. And I think as soon as he got out there into the real world with the drugs and this and that, he started to act out in ways that he never really got punished for anyways.
Yeah.
But he got kicked out of baseball because of it, because of the drugs. And he beat up his third base coach and this and that. So then it ended up being where he was blaming his parents as to why he got kicked out of baseball. But rightfully so, he probably should have. But
those are the consequences of your actions.
If he would have recognized what he should be doing instead of what they should have been doing, he should be living a better life. But he picked a worse life and worse path, and he's in prison. He's 30-something years old, and he did this, and I had to. The repercussions of that, your actions. You and I can make terrible decisions right now. that could affect so many people.
100%.
And if we're selfish enough, we don't care at the moment, but later.
And there's a ripple effect, and it doesn't just affect
Huge.
you or me or him or your dad. It affects generations.
I'm a decade in, and it has changed everything in my life. Everything.
You know, you talk about being a dad to a 15-year-old, and what was the other age?
15 and 12.
15
boy and a girl.
Boy and
Older
a girl.
and younger girl.
And you also were a husband during that time. How did all of this affect your ability to show up for them?
You know, that's the thing is we've talked a lot about the first hit, and there was more hits and more hits. And for me, in the beginning, I was very, you know, I'm going to be the son. I'm going to be the patriarch of the family. Dad, I'm a tough boy, and I'm going to be all right. I'm a tough man now. And I was that for my dad my whole life. We had a great relationship. I was a man, and that's why we had more of a friendship than where he needed to father me. We just hang out. I bounced my ideas and this off of him. So in the beginning, I was very strong. I was a patriarch. I was willing to. I'm going to drive this ship for the family, and I was being more of a leader in the grief and grace. And at the court hearings, I was the one who was speaking. And if the news came, I would stand up. I didn't want anyone else to be affected, and I really, really took that stance. But then, you know, I felt like I was under attack because 4 weeks later, after my dad was killed. First weekend, the family is like, we get invited to go away normal, a Halloween trip with our friends, and my wife, my two kids, and they're like, you know, 1 or maybe 2 and 4 at the time. But we go out on this Halloween camping trip with all our friends, and it was nice. It was literally 3 weeks after this had happened, so we just got away, and then pulling into my driveway, putting the RV in, and my phone rings. It's from my mom, and my parents had divorced when I was 18. Was raised in the church, and then, you know, they decided when I was 18 that they were going to split, and my mom ended up remarrying, and she remarried to this guy Bob, who was my stepdad for 12 years, and it was kind of like my dad was more street smart, Vietnam vet, like he was just out there, so I had my dad that was my buddy, and then my mom's husband, or my stepdad Bob, for 12 years, he was a psychologist. He had 2 masters.
More of the emotional support.
Yeah, he was a PhD,
probably.
full-blown psychologist, and from drugs previously had a really bad background, but turned his whole life around. So I could go to him for different kind of advice. So I had my dad and my stepdad. Well, I get that call when I'm there in the RV, and Bob has died in a plane crash. 4 weeks to the day of my dad, literally almost the exact minute, which was very weird. They died 4 weeks to the day within minutes of each other. He was flying his own plane with his best friend's fiance in there, coming out of Palm Springs. He was doing a great thing. He was donating a bunch of Vietnam. He was the most decorated Vietnam vet in Santa Barbara.
Wow.
And he had a bunch of memorabilia stuff, and he was donating it to the museum in Palm Springs. And just so happened to fly into a storm, it just wasn't it was the perfect storm for him to end up in a situation where he didn't come out of that one. And he was killed in a plane crash.
Wow.
So 4 weeks to the day.
So you are barely even putting the pieces back barely, like you're not even processing your dad's death. And then your stepdad passes 4 weeks
Imagine
after.
being numb and then somehow feeling number.
Like number.
How? I can't feel myself, but now. So to be honest, it's really that time and period. I think the grenade had already gone off, and now the nuclear of just like, God, what is going on? What is going on?
Yeah.
So the funeral, I don't remember much. It was literally just
Of your stepdad or your dad?
my stepdad. Oh, my dad's I remember very well. And it was my dad was a very well-known man. There was thousands of people. I think the funeral procession was miles long. It was amazing. It was at Harvest where I grew up, and it was great. And Bob, don't get me, he was very decorated. Colonel Moore's wife was at my stepdad's funeral. He's a very decorated Vietnam vet. So I remember some of it, but the emotions of it,
You were just done.
dead.
You were like,
I had cried more in those 4 weeks than I think I could even cry over the next 40 years. Like, it's just a grief in those moments. When it hits, you are literally, I'm not kidding, you're vomiting out of your eyes. That's how violent the tears are. And it was gnarly. So I had done enough of that when Bob hit.
Yeah.
It was like,
you had
what
nothing
the heck?
left really to give.
Yeah, so I dealt with that. And so I had to somehow still be the patriarch, somehow. But there still was just a thing in that moment that just, like, all right, what is going on? Like, this is happening.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to be a good husband, and I know they were trying to get to the point of me as a husband, but that was probably the second step back from me not knowing who I was, and shutting down and being angry with God.
Yeah, absolutely.
Angry.
And, we talk about, these two huge deaths that have occurred in a very short amount of time. But then shortly after that, you have an accident.
Yeah.
And you become wheelchair bound. What happened that day?
Yeah.
And
so
what was the time frame there?
So let's fast forward from Bob died in October 2015. Around Christmas of 2016, I was at my shop that I have a warehouse that I still have today. I've had it for 20 years, and it's has like a mezzanine up high where I store a bunch of stuff. And I was actually getting Christmas decorations down. So I'm the total stereotypical, like, oh, Christmas Day. But I wasn't like up on the ladder of the house. I was literally at my shop and ended up taking a slip and fell about 14 feet. But it was the perfect fall with, and I'm a big guy, I'm like 260 pounds. I'm a big boy. And it all went onto one leg, and it literally, they call it the crippler, and it destroyed my left leg. My tibia blew into like, I think, a dozen pieces, and just it disappeared. And it put me in a wheelchair I couldn't literally put weight on it for 7 months. And I didn't walk for a year. I was in a wheelchair for, I would say, 7 months. I got out of it in ways, but I'm sure with injuries in your past that the recovery and the healing is just ridiculous. So while still not being able to correctly process what had gone on with my dad and Bob, and also while I'm disabled, I own my own business. I don't have a boss. I've always been my boss, and I had people underneath me, and I had to provide and make sure the bills are paid, and sitting in a wheelchair.
And there's a lot of pressure on you to provide. You have 2 kids, you have a wife,
and still
you have
keep
a family,
it together. Yeah, and somehow be Mr. Chipper. So that was probably the turn for the worst for me. Because at that point I went through the not just angry with God, but almost done. Like, and not it was like a pity party. Why me? I was done. Done party where I was like, I want to.
It wasn't like you feeling sorry for yourself. It was just like, well, that's it. This is life, and it's grim.
Literally, like, this is the okay. Well, guess what I'm going to do here? Give me some pills, give me some alcohol, and I don't want to feel anything.
Yep.
So I got into Xanax to just shut it all off, and I was abusing Xanax and alcohol, and on top of that, which I'm still an advocate for today, because it's the only thing I think people should go to in these moments with THC, but I was going with all of it at once, which is an overload of just complete serotonin, just every which way. I was out of my mind, and so much Xanax that the side effects they talk about after a long time of it and abusing it, it's real. You turn into a numb person who doesn't care if you're alive. When they say like the suicidal thoughts and that just disconnection, I was that. So I was a shell of the man I ever was in my home for my wife. And there was animosities for prior things in our marriage. Our marriage was great from the outside. If you would have looked at us the day when my dad was killed, before that, we were literally the picture perfect. All the pictures, the vacations, beautiful home, everything from the RVs to the boats, like, just, we were out there, and I'm not saying we were faking it. I had it. We had it. But we didn't have the foundation of what it takes to make it through something like this. And it was hit after hit after hit.
It wasn't just one thing like, oh, bills are coming in. It's like normal.
And how do you prepare for that? What marriage is ever going to say, oh, we'll make it through that? All I could say is, like, good luck or good God. Like, you need a good God to get through all this. And I think that was where I went wrong, where some people in their faith just draw near to that no matter what. But I was so fed up with it that was the opposite of what I wanted, to where it was almost like I took on a villain role for my life, where, like, I've done it right for so long and it worked out so great.
Screw it.
I really wanted to be a bad guy. I really didn't care.
I can understand that.
I didn't. And I just, looking back at it, I can see the emotions. I could recognize where I went. Am I disappointed in myself? 100%. Do I own everything that I did? I made those decisions. No one else moved my body but me. Was I under influences that I shouldn't have been? Absolutely. Is there medications out there that no one should touch? 100%. There's a lot of ways, but the thing is judging anyone's journey isn't our job. Like me judging my journey, I get to do that. I can tell you where I went wrong, but it was my grief journey. And that's where, turning to books and counseling and this and that are great, but it is your journey.
Exactly.
And it took a long time to realize that, but it took me making a ton of mistakes and destroying the relationship with my wife and watching it crumble. And I made terrible choices, which I'm totally open to share.
As you've been listening to this conversation, you may be feeling like you want to share your own story, but maybe the thought of that overwhelms you or downright scares you. I'm here to encourage you. Your story matters, and I'd love to help you process and learn to share it to help others. Click the link in the show notes for coaching to get started. So eventually you guys end up getting divorced, right? You guys go through all this heartache. I'm sure, people who've been married before, there's so much love, especially with you having 2 kids, right? No one, I think you mentioned this, no one wakes up and is like, oh, I'm going to get divorced today. Or like, it's like no one's thinking that for their life, right? It happens over consistent choices that derail marriages, right? What role do you take responsibility for or accountability for in the divorce?
I take full accountability for the end being on me. And maybe it would have ended with different partners if I had chosen differently early in life, but God didn't give me that. I had the wife that I chose, and I said I do too. And I went through the just most crazy things that a lot of people don't even know how to deal with someone on the outside of it, because it's like, I'm the one who's hurting, just let me in. So it's like I'm using it as a crutch and she doesn't know. And I think at one point there was just a total disconnect where I think emotionally I just wanted out. And I didn't want to be loved anymore either.
Because you felt unworthy of love?
I didn't want to feel hurt anymore because I loved so many different things and they were just taken away. They just disappeared and God let it happen.
So would it be fair to say that you pushed her away?
Oh yeah. I sabotaged my marriage 100%. I ended up in a situation that I was talking to another woman who was very close to my wife, very close. And any of you watching who know the story, I'm not trying to hide who it was, but here I'm going to keep names and whatnot out of it because that isn't your business, but I'm willing to admit what my business was. And I ended up in a situation where I was having unsavory conversations with another woman that was close to my wife. And for some reason, I think that villain side of me was like, and at that point, I think I was kind of done with my marriage in my head. Like at that time,
for sure, yeah.
For some reason, with every medication and alcohol, and nobody makes good decisions on that. So I was not making good decisions. And the decision to allow someone else to talk to me in any other way that my wife should be was wrong. And I did that. And then being so close ended up me feeling like I had a way to vent, and they were able to almost validate these feelings that I was having.
There's an emotional connection. There's an emotional
and it was just and again, another perfect storm of like, what the heck? And it was about 3 weeks of that terrible conversations that carried on, and nothing ever physical, but that emotional relationship happened, and it ended up coming to a head where actually I did recognize that I was in the wrong, but it was too late. I had already had these conversations, and the damage that was going to be done was already in place. And so I remember the last night of having my family was New Year's Eve, 2019. And this relationship emotionally had been carrying on for 3 weeks. And my family and I got invited to go away for this New Year's Eve celebration. And it was really cool. It was out in the middle of the desert at this beautiful place, and at midnight they throw literally hundreds of rolls of toilet paper, this cool thing, and I'm there with my family, and in the back of my head going, what are you doing? And it was almost like I will admit that it was like an outer body experience where I was literally there, but I'm watching my kids and my wife, and I remember there's lights everywhere, but they were glowing, and it was like God going, you have messed up, like don't risk this. So at that moment it was like midnight. Did the whole I love you family, but I text that person and said, this can't happen anymore. I can't believe I've done this. I'm sorry, this was wrong. I'm glad it was only conversations, but this is not okay. And I had sent that off, and it was, and I really meant it, because I did feel that. I saw them and glowing, and I think it was like, maybe it was for this moment, for God said, look what you had. And I own what I did to not have that anymore. And asking for forgiveness, I did. And did I do all the work correctly? No, maybe I didn't, because my
did you ask her to go to counseling or anything?
Oh yeah, we did for years.
Afterwards?
Yeah, oh yeah. It was there was a lot of back and forth, and I think bitterness and resentment, and where it's like, okay, I've done this for 7 months and there's still nothing, and it's just how much more do I have to do? And there was prior infidelities on the other side, but far further in the marriage where I had moved past, and I don't want to dig into that too much, but there was moments where I had to be the one to forgive. And I had. So
do you think that her unwillingness to forgive you was because of the emotional neglect when your dad passed, and then your stepdad and your wheelchair bound, she was feeling so emotionally bankrupt?
Yeah. I think she felt that she had stayed there by my side through it, and I had a different outlook on it for things that I didn't feel.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to sit here and throw under the bus and whatever. And what's happened had happened. But what happened in that moment, I think what happened is the way that it went down was where it was really hard for her to move past, because that person ended up, we had a conversation, and it was recorded and delivered to her. So she got to hear my words. She got to hear me say
and that's hard things. Because she feels betrayed by you.
I betrayed her.
Absolutely.
Feeling it is, I gave it. I delivered it to her, and I did it, and I hurt her. And I am still to this day. I will never say anything I did she deserved. I was wrong. I did something wrong, and I had to pay the consequences. And by that, eventually just ended up to where we were divorced. And again, this is God's plan for my life. And who's to say that wasn't his plan anyways? And I'm not saying God plans for divorce or this or that, but it does happen.
I mean, God sees every single chapter of your story, of my story, of everyone that's listening. And we have free will.
Oh, yeah.
So God knows sometimes how dumb we are.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And he also knows the end of the story.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe God is a redemptive God, and he's in the business of redeeming stories like yours, like mine, like I mentioned, like people who are listening, and turns, ashes into beauty.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And that doesn't mean that, you and your ex-wife are getting back together, but it means that there's other aspects that maybe you wouldn't have had.
I wouldn't be where I am right now if all that hadn't happened. And there's more that happened with all of it, but it's just, I don't know how much more time we have, but it led from the divorce with her and all of that. And it just, I feel that now that I've been through 5 years, because this was 5 years ago, it's been almost 6, this was 6 years ago when it started. And so now we're 5 years away from being completely together. And, I'm in a new relationship, and I have someone that I love very much. And it's a connection, and it's something that I've never felt before in a relationship. So to have someone now that I feel as if I've never been loved like this before.
I love that.
So for me, God, that's one thing I've always wanted to long and loved, and I have that now. And maybe God always did want that for me, and it took all of this. And who's to say that isn't part of my path, and I wasn't meant to be exactly where I am now? Me and you talking, this was always been destined to happen.
I totally believe that. I think that God, there was a lot of times in your story where you were angry at God.
Yeah.
And you questioned God, I'm sure, and you just hated God,
Yeah.
And maybe this new chapter, God's like, I still have you. I've always had you.
Yeah.
You deserve to be loved. You're worthy of love, despite what happened in your marriage, despite all of this pain and suffering you've gone through.
Yeah.
I've had you. I've never left you. And I am rewriting your story. And now you're sharing your story.
Yeah.
And you are able to now change other people's lives because of the pain you have gone through. And that's powerful. And that perspective and that mindset is only going to serve you and your family and your girlfriend and for your life.
Yeah.
It's a whole new perspective.
It is, and it's been, I will say that I think through my life it's been preparing me for more hits and more hits, and more hits are going to come.
And
for anybody out there, just so you know, just when you think it's okay,
You're going to get knocked down again.
Buckle up.
I'm just kidding. No. Well, that is life. You did mention to me off camera that there was a time that you were so low that you didn't want to live anymore.
Yeah, I did. And that was...
was that the turning point for you where you did want to become closer to the Lord, or what, or bring us into that?
To be honest,
or no?
It was, I wanted to be dead. I'm not going to lie. I really had given up so much because there's another, and I'll go through this as fast as I can. So this whole 7 years of going on with my dad and this and my leg and and then during all that, I'm going through a murder trial that took 6 years. And having to face this man and do that. And then also on top of that, because he was let out of the hospital, it was a civil case against the hospital because they literally, there was some gnarly stuff that I can't quite speak on, but they made some crazy mistakes in the mental health system that absolutely
prior to him
help.
Getting released, you mean?
That allowed him to do what he did. That it took 7 years, but our family ended up, rather than it going to trial, the county realized, we really did. So we settled with the family. I'm sorry, they settled with my family.
Yes.
And so it gave me kind of this, all right, now I've got to reset and maybe now I can start my life over.
Yeah.
And so I had my best friend and they get me to open up a business and I ended up, I had just gotten all this money, which was great. It was like, my dad gave his life for that money. It was blood.
Yeah, and
money.
you would never.
Yeah, so I thought I was like, this is finally we get this. It's gonna reset. Like life is good. It was like I was like 2023 because 23 was my dad's birthday and my lucky number. I was like 2023 is gonna be the year, and so family gets this. I build a whole bar out in Redlands. I ended up giving my friend 10% of it, and then his girlfriend owned another huge chunk of it. And I built this whole place, put, 20 weeks and $250,000 and all this in to build this place. And I did it dedicated to my dad. And within like 6 months, the business was stolen from me. Completely. I lost.
Which is wild.
Crazy. My best friend and his girlfriend. And to this day, it's crazy. And it's, no, I'm sorry, my ex-best friend.
Yeah.
But to have that carry on right after all these hits, and he was there with me through all the trial.
Yeah.
Literally worked side by side. I'm installing shutters for my company because this was during COVID when the murder trial was going on.
Yeah.
So you could only have so many people in the courtroom. So I was literally watching my dad's murder trial while installing shutters in a customer house with headphones on, keeping up on my dad's trial because I can only be there every other day because only 3 family members, so my sister was
you
there.
guys would rotate.
And I had to work.
Yeah.
So I would literally go to court, and then the next day I would go to work and install shutters all day. So, and this dude was there with me through all of this, up to all that, and then I ended up giving him a huge chunk of a business that was immediately making a lot of money, and it was within 6 months gone. I lost $480,000, and to this day have not been paid a dime from it. And
so now you're betrayed by your best friend on top of it.
So at that point, I was at my lowest, where now it's like, God, literally 7 years. I had to wait 7 years. You built the world in 7 days, and 7 years I sit here, and now I get this new business, and now this is gone. And it was that was when I went silent. I literally, I think God knew I needed a real reset, and I shut down. I got I would say depressed, but I got to a point where I didn't trust anybody but God, which is a good place to be. That's all I had, right?
Yeah.
Because I had already realized, because there was moments in the, gosh, there's so many hits. Down to my dog. That was a moment where God kind of showed me who was really. It was a moment I didn't pray for 2 years after my dad died, but my dog was attacked. That my dad had given me this dog 2 weeks before he was murdered. My dad gave me a dog, and he got attacked, and he almost died right in front of me. It was gnarly. It took 3 months in the hospital, and God delivered that because every vet said put him to sleep. And, so this is a short clip of something very crazy. So the last thing my dad gave me was that dog, and then within that was. That's crazy. With the leg, this was right after all that. So the one thing my dad gives me is this beautiful dog, Rowdy, and he gets almost taken from me on Christmas Eve of all nights.
Wow.
He gets chewed up by a pit bull and contracts flesh-eating bacteria, and it was the most gnarly thing.
Gosh.
So I had that as well
to
deal with. And then fast forward to now I've built this business and think I'm resetting, and then they stole it, and I'm alone. and I've got so much money in the bank, and I don't want to go to work. I don't want to go rebuild my other company. My marriage was over. We're done. We filed for divorce. It was literally me and at the time another person that I was dating at the time. That was just literally, that was all I had, and nobody. I went silent on social media for 2 years.
Wow.
I didn't talk to anybody. I just shut down because it was like nothing was there. And so it was just me and God. And I still was angry at times, but I started having these moments because I was not focused on anything else. I was not trying to get a job. I was trying to get that business back through courts, but it was just purging money nonstop, and it's not fun. So I started to have these connection moments where it was like, I think when you could, like, you know, when you say you fast and you can have these like almost moments,
like supernatural.
You're communicating maybe your perception of your relationship with God and conversation with God, but I had moments that I feel like I was 100% in tune with God.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen in any other moment in my life because I'm 44 and it's never happened until full surrender. Literally, I had nothing left. I had gone through all this money, not doing anything. I was down to my last like $45.
Wow.
After building all these businesses and living in this home and all that stuff. And God came to me that night. I'm like, God, I don't know what else to do. I'm done with me. I have messed it all up. I literally quit. Not just Jesus take the wheel, but my will to live. Like, I don't want to live anymore. If you're going to do something with me, do it. And just whatever it is, please, Lord, I surrender, or just bring the bus. Just run me over. I just want to just go to sleep. Just stop. And I did have those moments. I never went to where but I did have moments of very close to suicide.
So how did God meet you in there?
It was, and for you who aren't believers out there, this is my experience, and I'm going to share it, and it's happened to me.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I am not making any of this up. This is real. So I had these moments of conversations with God, and there was this night where I was very connected with God, and I was weeping in the shower. And that was actually something I figured out instead of anxiety medication. Like, don't go out and cry in public and try to cause a scene to get attention. But I found as a man, my best moments for anxiety were to cry in the shower by myself.
Because you're letting it out. And I think, you know, all these years you've been stuffing.
So once I realized, like, it's okay to cry, guys. Literally, I'm a big boy and I will cry. Like, I would get in the shower and I would pray and I would just let it out. And it was like, I've never, like, you know, in Fight Club, when like, I've never slept better, except for that night when he's hugging a dude and crying. Better. Yeah. That's a real thing. Like, I think practice it, guys. Don't be afraid to cry. Go home and get it out and do it by yourself.
Yeah.
You don't need a crying partner. Literally weep. And it is the best anxiety medication I've ever tapped into. I think that a lot of guys are even afraid to admit, but I'm not. I'm talking get in the bathtub, put on some Dido or praise music and cry it out, guys. It's okay.
Yeah.
Because there's something about that tension in your chest that only real emotion release is going to let it out. So screaming is a thing or this and that, but my weeping is what led me to God. And in that moment, I ended up having a full-blown just vision moment of God. Maybe it was a dream. Whatever it was real, and I saw it and I was there. And there was this, I was literally with God, and it was a valley that I was in that had a path, and you could either be on the right side or the left side. And it was clear what both sides were good and evil. And it was on the left side was just this, just darkness and evil. And I could go there anytime. That was what the whole vision was, that I have free will to go over there. And I had been. I know I've touched that side many times in my life. And he was just showing me that over there. But as we're walking down this path, I see actually, which is kind of weird, an image of that person that had stolen all that money and did all this. Like, it was weird that a version of her was there, but was grabbing all this just dark things. And like, we're just going. And, but the thing is while they're grabbing all this stuff, it was kind of like watching my kids, I think with Roblox or whatever, when they're building stuff. And I say, just to kind of put it into perspective, but God was collecting things too. And all of a sudden I realized we were collecting things from me. And it was the good things, and it was like the things that God wants me to do, and the stories of my life, and all of it to be used to build this just structure that I didn't know what it was at the time, but I literally saw this other evil image building this just structure of just terrible things. And then I don't know how long this had gone on for, but I feel like it was hours. It may have been split seconds, but I know the clock went time.
Long.
It was long. I remember it to the point where it was so vivid to this moment right here that I saw it. And I was able to ask questions, and I was able to
Really?
Yeah, I was able to talk, and it was a communication where it was like the light. Just stay in the light. Like, and it was weird. It's like it was everything to the right. Stay in the right, stay to the light. That was a part of this vision, was just stay to the right, stay in the light. And so I remember that being the key point of our journey of this, and he just keeps collecting these things and he's building this. And then at the end of it, it almost represented a stage, but it just had a big beaming light on it. And I was like, oh, like at first thinking for me.
Yeah.
That he built me a stage with a big light
like,
for
there
me
we
to
go.
be on. Like, I'm going to be a star. Like, I'm not going to lie. In that vision,
For sure.
my humanness and my
We
free
like to make it
will
about us,
got
for sure.
selfish and made it about me. But in that moment, it was like he smirked and smiled. And I'm like, see, that's you. You are human and you are capable. But that light's not for you. That light's for me.
Wow.
And
wow. That's
still hits.
huge.
That's
huge.
All these moments of my life were used to me that could destroy me, but could glorify that you can make it through anything. And that our life is a stage, and there is a light that we can follow. There is a right decision that you can make. And I think that was the state of the right, state of the light, which is not just the direction, it's the word. Stay right, stay honest, stay humble. Stay directed and keep him at the center of the light. Glorify God. We are the stage, he's the light. And if you're going to get given a stage, don't you take that stage. You give him the honor.
That is such a good word.
It was, and I lived this. This isn't a story. This was a vision that I lived. And at that moment, I woke up and I'm kidding. And I remember I'd said I was down to my last $45.
Yeah.
And you did go to my restaurant that I did go. It's been open for 6 months.
Yeah.
At that moment, I had never felt so protected and so directed and motivated.
Yeah.
Because there's a thing about, grief and this and that and work and I'm going to be okay and this and that, but it takes steps and physical work. So God opened doors, but I had to walk through them. And when he opened them fast. So I kid you not, the next day, I get offered a job, which I was like, okay, I got offered a job. This is cool, but I've always worked for myself.
Yeah.
But then I also got offered an opportunity to open Shindigs. So God had already placed me there before I knew he was there. So I just, for some reason, I was like, wow, this is a cool building too. And it's in the area I grew up in.
Yeah.
That building, I literally lived.
Was that Coco's?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, Coco's. I bought my first house a couple golf swings away from that. Yeah. And even before that, like 96, I lived on Wood Road around the corner.
Yeah.
I've been in that building hundreds of times before it was even mine. But while I was doing work in it a year and a half prior, when they were turning it into another idea, I had told the guy, I wish you the best of luck, but if you ever want to, if this doesn't quite work out, I'd love to have the building and I might have an opportunity here. So I planted that seed not knowing that I would get a call after having this vision in the bathtub crying, willing to give my life up. That guy just randomly calls and is like, hey, were you serious when you said you'd want this building? Because I know you're a local boy and I think it'd be really cool if you did take it over. And I like what you did out there. Do you want this? And I was like, yeah, I didn't want to tell him I'm broke. I don't know how I'm going to do this. But I just said yes.
For sure.
But the thing was God had said yes. He had showed me that he was going to build something with my life. So at that point, I had a leader.
Full trust.
Yeah.
Full faith.
100%.
Ready to go with God
and
by my
all I had
side.
to do was move. I just had to walk and move forward. So I literally sold everything I could. I had been collecting. I had a whole other business of classic cars. So I had about 10 cars that I could sell and assets that I had. Yeah. I wasn't completely broke. I was out of cash.
Yeah.
I didn't want to sell my assets.
For sure.
But literally within 3 weeks, I raised all the money, got the keys for the building. And I had to build it myself. It was me and 5 dudes to build that thing. I designed it. Every piece of wood I touched, every material I purchased.
Didn't know that.
I designed it, built it. My hands still have splinters. Like, I'm a construction guy.
That's amazing.
So I literally, and that's one thing God gave me. It's my ark. That's why if you go in there and you see all the wood, the way I stacked it, it's an ark. Inside there, everything about it, represents what the inside of a ship would almost look like. No one really knows. I don't tell them that much. But if you went in there, well, I don't know if you saw, but the biggest thing in there is "In God We Trust."
Yeah, I did see that.
Huge.
I did see that. Yes.
Bigger. We kept to bigger. It's got to be bigger.
That's so funny.
That is not just something from a dollar bill.
No,
that is a statement in my building that it was not impossible if I didn't trust.
Absolutely. I'm sure your dad is very proud of you.
And it's funny you say that because absolutely he is, but for me, building the one in Redlands, knowing that location, my dad's buried at the Riverside National Cemetery, and the location that I'm in, I am the closest restaurant and bar to where he's buried. He's literally, and it's not him, it's his shell. I get it. Like, he's in heaven.
But you know
but
what?
There's something symbolic about, well, the thing is literally every day somebody comes from the cemetery from a funeral or whatever, and I get to see them in there, and I've now started sponsoring and donating money to the cemetery, where my dad's armor that was here on this world represents. So that's what's there.
It matters.
And I have the closest place to it, and I get to honor them, and it's amazing. And it's like everything you're going to go through, and this is my wrap up. Ready? Everything you're going through or going through or going to go through, you were meant to go through.
Absolutely.
You may not think you're strong enough, but guess what? Don't question it, because God knows you are strong enough, and he's the one that designed you. And you just literally have to look at every hit as like, I'm that tough. I'm meant for this, and I'm going to somehow get through it. Because I could tell you there was moments that I didn't know that, and I would have probably told myself to shut up. But now I'm standing here 10 years of this, literally 10 years, and I'm thankful for everything.
And that's huge to say.
Do I miss my dad?
Of course.
100%. Does it hurt? Do I think about it?
Yes.
But I've learned that God's intention for his life was to be in my life as long as it was. So for me to focus on how he left or how much I missed or what he wasn't there for, he was never meant to be there for that. But what was there is the memories when he was here. So in grief, I've found that it's better to just focus on the here when they were rather than with what they missed, because you can't change that.
No.
That gut wrenching, I wish they were here. Quit telling yourself that, because they're never going to be there. But guess what? They want you to be there. And they raised you before the days, or whoever it is, friend, this and that. That person, you got to experience their life expectancy with them, and you were supposed to go longer. So it's that experience through grief. It takes time. So if you're going through grief and it's fresh and it's raw, own it, feel it.
Yeah.
It is real.
Don't stuff it.
Don't rush us. You're not going to wake up feeling like me tomorrow. I can promise you that.
Yeah.
Literally, if you feel like you need to take a couple days off and cry it out and don't know what's going on, you need to talk to somebody, go talk to somebody. Talk to anybody you can. If you get low, talk to God more than anybody.
100%.
But I 100% would encourage anybody going through anything, just don't give up.
Yeah.
Don't. Because like,
there's gold on the other side.
Oh, there is tenfolds. And I will say, even with going through with the whole restaurant being stolen, that was all meant to happen. Tenfolds.
And now look at you now.
It's real. Tenfolds is real.
Honestly.
Real. You
probably wouldn't have this opportunity now.
No. And the funny thing, I live 8 miles from the restaurant. My kids go to school 2 seconds away. I've got an amazing opportunity, and it's me. It's my vision. I've built it. There's a team.
Yep.
I've had people with me. It's not been me by myself with just God. It took a lot of moving parts, and I have 90 employees and so much stuff to do to build this. But God put me there, and I am so honored to stand here now to encourage anyone to realize that the hits are going to come, and they're going to keep coming. And no matter what you go through, God meant that for you, because you're strong enough and you can survive it.
Amen.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't. And if you do,
I love that.
You're never going to see what the stage was meant for. You know, God is
exactly.
literally building
You will
us.
never know if you quit.
We all die at the end, just so you know.
Yep.
We all die. So why not watch it? Don't make it go away. Don't finish your story. Just wait for the gas truck to hit you one day if it happens, but let it happen. You know what?
Yeah.
It just live it out as long as you're going to be, and stay in the light and shine and love everybody, every opportunity that comes into play. That's really my point, is that you're going to be okay, and stay in the light, and just...
What was it? You said stay to the right, stay in the light.
Stay to the right, stay in the light.
Stay to the right, stay in the light.
And it's not just direction, it's words. Stay right. Be a right person. Be a good person. Be substance. Be someone that you would want to be around when you're feeling that way. Like, when you look at someone, don't judge them because of, what they may be going through. Think about what they're going through and help be the judge of how to help.
Yeah.
That's it.
Exactly.
Don't tell them if you tell someone that they're handling this terrible, they know it. Okay. Just encourage and be there.
And find ways to love.
Oh yeah. That really, and honestly, I'll end it on the last thing that my dad ever said to my mom. And it was a quote that stuck in the family forever. We have it actually printed, and this is the last text he ever sent my mom.
Wow.
And it was, wherever there is a human being, there's an opportunity for kindness.
I love that. And that was his last text.
It's the last thing he ever sent my mom. And it was just so random that was the last thing that ended up being the message to all of us, that was like, wherever there's a human being, any person, color, race, religion, anything, there's an opportunity to be kind to them and to show them God's love and God's light and be right. So it's kind of crazy to think something that my dad said 10 years ago lines up to how I'm closing this now.
Full circle.
100%. I'm just sorry, getting emotional.
No,
I didn't put that together
sense.
till like right now, saying these words.
Yeah.
It's, thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
I've
for
never shared my
sharing.
story.
I'm so honored that you are here sharing it, and I cannot wait for all the listeners to hear it. And I know there's people out there struggling. I know there's people out there that are battling and want to give up, and
100%.
you are a testament to just keep going,
100%.
keep on keeping on. And so thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. It has been an experience, and thank you. It's amazing. Thank you, guys. Hope you enjoy.
Thanks, guys. Thank you for listening to Shift Happens. You are the reason I started this podcast. I hope it finds the ears and hearts of those who need it, so that you know your voice matters and you are reminded that someone needs to hear your story. As always, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And I'll see you next week.